Introducing Minor Wisdom Quintet.
1, 2, a skidda-didda-doo.
Minor Wisdom.
I hope everybody had a wonderful week at Texas Thespian Festival. As I sit here recording this, I just got home from the festival. It is the afternoon. I left a little early, didn't stay for closing ceremonies and such because I really wasn't needed, or I was told I wasn't needed, until, of course, I was on the road and then I was asked to do something, but obviously I did not. I didn't turn around. But I hope everybody had a great time. Kudos to the board. Kudos to everyone involved that was just creating a just smashing, awesome success of a festival when we haven't done this in a couple of years, and just, there's still the uncertainty of if we can do this and all that kind of stuff, and we did, and I had nothing to do with it. The state festival board, led by BK, Troy Men, Vicky Kirkley, Nicole Morgan, John Davenport with scholarships, just a ton of people, and obviously Amy Jordan, but a ton of people that made this highly successful, and just kudos to you guys for doing that and succeeding, and I hope you guys are having a good time tonight. I'm releasing this a little early just because I feel like I'm trying to monopolize on you people in a bus right now that may be listening, and I learned of a lot of people that listen to this podcast during the festival. Some people listen to just a handful of episodes, some people listen more often, and then some people listen every week, and I have found that some people really retain a lot of information, and that's fine, that's great, but man, it scared me when a couple of people were like, in this episode you said, and I was like, girl, I don't remember that, but I appreciate everybody for listening. This week I've got Mel Edwards, firecracker of a director at Rouse High School. She runs mightywithalltrades.com. I highly recommend you go to that. There are buttons, stickers, there are patches, there are towels, all different kinds of stuff that you should buy, not just for your students, but also like if you're in the professional world, or if you do things at community theaters in your community, obviously, or in your town or whatever. These are great, affordable things to show that you appreciate your technicians and your backstage folk. So I highly recommend, again, I'll put the link in the bio, but it's mightywithalltrades.com. Mel came recommended to me by Stuart Savage, and I always interview people that Stuart says to interview, partially because he makes me. I just trust him. I trust what Stuart has to offer, and so I interviewed Mel, and I interviewed a few people at Thespians this year. Not as many as I wanted to, but I did get quite a few. So I appreciate those people that trusted me and sat with me and just kind of talked to me and let me talk to them and stuff. So that was fun. Again, I appreciate those people listening. I appreciate the State Festival Board. You guys did, again, such an amazing job. Bobby, your Lions did a great job with Clue. It's the only show I saw while I was there, because I'm not going to lie, I am still not like super duper comfortable sitting for an hour and a half, whatever, hour 45 in a room, especially with teenagers. And honestly, I'm never comfortable with that. But I went and saw Clue, and I got to sit with Bobby and talk to him about it as it was happening. Very professional of us, but it was fun. So good to everyone. Kudos to everyone. Again, I appreciate all of you. Congratulations to those kids that made it to main stage. I had a couple I had one former Travis kid make it to the main stage auditions, and I had a lot of former students make it to nationals. So great job for all those kids. Can't say enough. And I'm going to keep this super positive, even though there are a bunch of negative things I want to talk about. I'm not going to get into all of it. The bullet points are, there are people that think their shit don't stink when all you do is, you teach theater, you're not a brain surgeon, so don't walk around like you run the world. That is one of the bullet points. The lighting in some of these theatrical spaces is unforgivable, and I know one of the solutions for it. Call me. Those are two negative things. Also, kids walking out of a theater and then walking back in 5 minutes later, that's not really cool. But those are my 3 like complaints, and that's it. I'm done. That was not even 30 seconds. So again, everybody did a great job. Follow me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, whatever it is, on Twitter, Metabook, Metaface, Face Meta. But, make sure that you are kind of keeping in touch. Mel Edwards is this week. It is this episode, like, it felt like professional development when I was talking to her in a very positive way, not in that negative, like being talked at type of way. It felt like I had Cheryl on last week. Cheryl in person is professional development, but doesn't feel like professional development. That's what this talk was with Mel. It is professional development, but didn't feel that way as far as like boring, I guess, or being talked at. But during it, I was like, girl, this is stuff everybody needs to hear. So I highly encourage you listen to this one and enjoy my dogs barking in the background. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving week. Everybody's earned it. Please, everybody, take some time for yourself and enjoy your family, your friends, your food, all the F's, and one that I shall not name. Enjoy.
My name's Mel Edwards. I go by Mel. My real name's Melissa. A lot of people probably don't know that. Everyone calls me Mel.
They think it's Melanie,
They think it's Melanie, Melody.
Yeah.
My mom even calls me Mel, so it's just Mel. That's it, right? My brother calls me Mel, whatever. My husband calls me Mel. But I grew up in South Texas in a tiny town called Roma, Texas. Me and Luis are from the same town, so shout out to Luis. And it's a really small town. We only had one high school and one middle school. And I actually didn't do theater in high school at all. I was a band kid. Straight up, I played the flute. Okay. My claim to fame is that I was alternate to state my senior year. So I was really upset that I didn't make it. And my career, actually, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And so I applied to UT and I got in and I was there and I started a pre-vet course. And I didn't do theater again, but I saw that they had a work study opening at the Performing Arts Center. And I remember the flyer was like, do you know how to use tools? Come work for us or come work with us. And I said, sure, I could do that. So I applied. And the only reason why I knew how to use tools is because my senior year in high school, I took an ag class and an auto mechanics class because I needed classes to fill up my schedule like every senior does. And so I wanted to do veterinary. So my counselor was like, let's take ag. So I took ag and I didn't learn about animals and stuff till like the last 6 weeks of school. But before that, I learned I made a picnic table. I welded a barbecue pit. I did all of these things. And then the auto mechanics class was just because it was kind of the room right next to it. And so I did that. So I learned a little bit about cars and that's where I learned how to solder in that class. And I took apart the horn in my car. Because I fixed stuff in my car when I was my senior. So it was interesting. Anyway, so I learned how to use tools and I already knew that and I got the job. So I did the whole pre-vet thing and I took biology classes, calculus classes, physics classes, all these things. But every year I had a different advisor. Right. And so when I was in my third year of college, I had a different advisor and they were like, when are you going to pick a major? And I was like, I thought pre-vet was a major. And they're like, no, you need to pick a major, graduate, and then get into vet school. And I was like, I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. Yeah. And I'm not a first generation. My mom is a registered nurse, but she got an associate's when you could be a registered nurse. You'd be 2 years. Yeah. So a long time ago. And, she's, she didn't know either, what we were doing with college. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And so we looked at all of these different degrees, chemistry degrees, biology degrees, physics degrees, and all of these science degrees, because I had all these science classes, were going to take another 4 years of college, another 5 years of college. And I was like, man, I'm going to be in school for 10 years for a bachelor's. Yeah. I was like, fuck this noise. So then when I went back to my work study job at the Performing Arts Center and I was just defeated. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so my shop foreman, J.E., was like, why don't you do this? And I was like, well, what's this? And he's like, this, set stuff, like building like theater, and like you're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You know, we've had you for like the last 3 years. You've worked here. You've worked in the prop shop. Like, you know, we all love you. Like, you're pretty good at looking at it. It's like, oh, I could do this for a job. And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, this is cool. So I went to the fine arts department and we kind of talked to an advisor there. And they were like, yeah, like you can literally just take theater classes your next 2 years. Right. And I could graduate in 2 years, which would have been a 5-year
awesome.
degree.
Yeah,
and which is like what a lot of people are doing now anyway.
Yeah.
And so, dude, I had like an insane amount of credits. I had like piano and ballet and tap. You know, I had like all these random classes to amount. And so she's like, you have too many credits. She's like, just take theater classes. And so, yeah, and I did. So I actually have a BA.
Okay.
Because I didn't go the education route to begin with. And so I took like lighting and rigging and all kinds of things. And then I graduated and I got a job working at a theater in DC called the Studio Theater. And I was one of 3 carpenters. And they were all men. Yeah. And so I'm like I'm short if you haven't met me. Yeah. And so there's all these like really big men at this professional theater in DC, and so I worked there for a while. I learned so much, and I'm still really good friends with all 3 of them. Yeah. Then I kind of really missed my family in Texas, and I decided to come back. But I was really bent on staying in Austin, and Austin is not a set place. Right. It is music, lighting, sound, and I was like, I don't want to do any of those things. I don't want to be a roadie and push like a heavy ass box up a ramp. Yeah. So I actually got a job in a cabinet and furniture making place, manufacturing.
I know where this is going. Okay, keep going.
And I worked there for a while, and I absolutely loved it. I was building really high end cabinets and furniture. Yeah. And actually, the guy who owned that, it's called the Wim Group, is the company that I work for. The man who owned Wim Group actually also owned ACL. And so I got ACL tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was, totally fun. But then I was, making like $10 an hour building like $9,000 bookcases. Yeah. And so I said, I really need to do something with my degree. My boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, was just like, you're not even using your degree. You should think about teaching theater. And when I graduated college, technical theater wasn't a big thing in high schools yet. And so then I said, well, I don't know. I only know how to do tech stuff. And he's like, well, look it up. And so I started doing more research, and I started seeing that schools were hiring just technical directors. I was like, ooh, I don't have to teach acting. That's awesome. Yeah. So I kind of looked into it. I did alternate certification, and then I applied to one school, which was Belton High School. And I got the job, and I started the program. I did that for 6 years. And then after that, I decided there was a change. Stephanie Smith, who was out over at Rouse, called me up, and she said she had an opening, and I was hesitant at first. And then, because I didn't want to leave my kids. It's always about the kids, right? Yeah. And then I took a chance, and I went to Rouse, and I've been there for 3 years, and now my head director, Stephanie, has left, but now it is Cheryl is my head director. So so that's how I did it.
That's funny. So there's a lot to unpack there, as they say. So first of all, the cabinet thing explains a lot, because the way you were introduced to me is this girl can literally build anything. Mm. And so what I have found, because I work with our shop foreman at our school. That's right, shop foreman. I said it, private school. But is a former cabinet builder, and he can build anything. And now to a fault in a way, because he's a theater guy, but he builds everything to look perfect, face like right up close. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have that problem?
I used to.
Okay.
I definitely did have that problem. When I first started teaching, everything was just like I had Sanders was your best friend. Exactly. Like but then after, and then it was causing me a lot of stress. But then after maybe like 4 months into teaching, I was like, it's okay. Like I realized that my job mentality changed, because my job mentality was it has to be perfect, because I did it professionally, and I was like, it has to be perfect. It has to be flawless. But then when I started working with my kids, I was like, it doesn't have to be perfect, because my job is not to make it perfect. My job is to teach them to make it. How to so get it's it there, okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. Do you build for your own home?
I do not, actually. I get that question a lot. But I do some things for myself. Like, I do some screen printing for my Etsy shop. And I built my own screen press.
I want to get to that.
Then my husband has had me build things for him to do his car stuff, like little jigs, and I've built speaker boxes for his like audio wiring things, and but I have not built like my own cabinets at my own home or anything. In fact, right now we're kind of working on like this guest bedroom. We're trying to make we have a lot of cats, which I'm embarrassed to say. But we're trying to do this like platform bed thing where like the litter boxes are under the bed and the hole is in the wall, and so we don't have to see the litter box. Like, I don't know.
Do you have TikTok?
Yes, I do.
So there's a guy on TikTok that has his TikTok account is based on his dog, and there are lots of those. But he did that same idea. He put a hole in his wall. And on the other side of that hole is like his dog's apartment.
Oh, that's so cute.
The cutest, and just like so, it makes. I'm a dog owner, not a cat owner, but it's, fur babies. But it makes you feel so incompetent. You're like, wow, here I am just treating my dog like absolute crap.
Yeah, well, and my husband's actually the cat guy.
Oh, okay.
So when I married him, I inherited cats.
Yeah.
And he inherited one dog. I'm the dog person.
Okay.
Yeah.
There, because I had lost a little respect for you, but I gained it back. Okay. Good. So the cabinet building thing. Did you, like when you were in DC, were you like? Explain more about the DC side of things, because that also, there are certain shops around the country, and I've been in a couple of them. Clearly not all of them. I don't think anybody in this world has, but that have different philosophies on how you build for theater. Was your shop in DC more like the cabinet shop, or were they more of like it's okay that it's not looking good from 5 feet away as long as it looks good 20 feet away?
No, they were more like the cabinet shop.
Yeah.
We did this one show called The Receptionist, and my master carpenter Trent, which again I'm still really good friends with him and his wife. I remember, and I made mistakes too. Like everybody's it's just like, you're so great, you're so whatever, you know how to. No, I mean, I've made mistakes. Everybody learns from. Yeah. And I remember The Receptionist had all of these flats, and it was just like a box set, but it had all of these flats. I remember he was just like, these seams need to be absolutely perfect, because it was in a black spot. It was not a black box space. It was a lot smaller or more intimate, and you would see the freaking seams. So we had to do all of these things, and up close it just looked like this flat, flawless wall, but it was 12 flats lined up next to each other. And so and the same thing too, when we did the molding for that, we stained it, but we had to, it was just like MDF, I think, but MDF doesn't really take stain well, and we had to contact cement Luan on it, and he's like, you can't get the contact cement on the front of it because then the stain won't and you'll see it, and all of a sudden he's like, so if you get it, you gotta wipe it off, so it was very meticulous, and I was like, okay, cool, I could do that. So it was more like the cabinet shop. And actually the reason why I got the cabinet job, even though I didn't have experience building cabinet, my Bill, who was my manager, was just like, I picked you because you had so much attention to detail, and that's what I needed.
So, okay, you just, now this is where the podcast turns into PD a little bit, because the Technical Theater Educators page on Facebook, which I'm sure you're a part of,
yes,
which I have my opinions about, but I won't go into it here. One of the constant questions is, I've got these seams, and I can't figure out how to cover them up. So what do you do? It's the most PD thing I think I've ever asked on this podcast.
Yeah, and a lot of people suggest Dutchman, right? Okay. And doing that stuff. But actually what we did is we just really made sure that our flats were super straight. Yeah. We routed off anything that was off, and then we would screw them together, and we kind of started at the bottom. And we would screw it down into the floor, butt it up against each other, and then screw it into each other at the bottom. And then we would twist our flat and work our way all the way up. And we still had a seam, and then we would have to caulk the seam. And we wouldn't paint our flats. We would caulk the seam, and we would use joint compound, whatever we needed to do. Right. And then we would sand them, and then we would paint the whole wall.
As just one
solid piece.
Like it's a home.
Like it's a home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, good to know. I'm taking notes.
It is a lot more work, but if you are really worried about your audience seeing it that close, that's just what you have to do.
So I'm a lighting background guy. I don't know how much you know about me, but that's about all you get to know. But I'm a lighting background guy, so seams can be like just the most frustrating thing to us because you want to light this beautiful scene, and then because the wall has some sort of discrepancy in it, it creates a shadow, and you're like, oh shit, like I can't light that now with that light because I can see the wall's not perfect. It's just very frustrating.
A lot of joint compound.
Okay.
In a dust mask.
In a dust mask.
Yes.
Not on the wall, just for the record.
Yes.
On you.
Yes.
Because that would be weird. So the cabinet thing, the working in DC, have you been able to, like, now that you're in education, have you gone back to any of that? I don't want to say professional work necessarily, but have you been able to go back into a professional shop or a community theater shop or anything like that to say, because your perspective has changed a little bit, how you educate the kids compared to how you were kind of brought up into the industry? Have you been able to go back into those places, or?
Well, no. The only thing that I do outside of my school stuff is Tails Camp. That's the only thing that I do outside. That's more community theater and all that stuff. I just haven't really found, I guess, a good community theater. When I was in Austin for a while, I did work with one community theater, but they were very disorganized, and I was like, nope, not for me. And then when I was in Belton, there was a Temple Civic, and there was just not enough. Our school just takes up so much time, and so there wasn't really like enough for me to be like, yeah, this will be my side gig. So I didn't ever do that. And so right now, really, the only time I do stuff is during the summer. And when I was lucky enough to intern my first year at Taos Camp, and then my second year, I was asked to come back as the technical. I guess my title is like technical production director or production technical director. I don't know what it says on the program.
What does it say on your resume?
It just says technical director.
Okay, good.
But I think the program, because it's at a university, so typically the university technical director is like the technical director, and so I'm the production technical director or something, because I build for the camp, but they have to have a staff member. I don't know, something like that. So that's why I'm thinking, like, I don't know what it's called in the camp, but I'm basically the technical director for Taos Camp.
Right. So in the IATSE world, the university person is the like foreman for the entire facility, and you're the touring artist kind of person.
And so that's that. But but I will say that I do run like my crews, and I teach my students the way that I was taught in DC. Like, I run them professionally.
So, asking you the tough questions. So you are a female.
Yes.
I'm, making assumptions, I know, but in 2021, right? And you're short, as you said, and you're Hispanic. So I want, those are in this very male-dominated white man industry, speaking as a white man and a male. Wait, I just never mind, shut up. That's redundant. But what are some of the how long does it take for someone like you to prove I'm gonna outwork you? You walk in and immediately there's a assumption. There are, good or bad. There's an assumption, and how long did it? Because I'm assuming now you have educational speaking in the educational world. You've got some pedigree and respect. But when you were kind of breaking in, how long did it take for you to say, or to prove, not say, prove, like, you get a lot with me. So.
Yeah, that's a really interesting conversation. When I first started, yes, I cannot tell you how many times I've been mansplained.
Sure.
So many times. And a lot of it is not out of like disrespect. It's like maintenance men would come in and, ask, say, something is broken, and some of them would call me little lady, and sometimes it's cute, right, depending if it's like an older country man.
Sure.
Like sometimes it's like, okay, that's kind of cute, right? But there's definitely like this cloud of like, I don't really know what you're talking about, or you don't know, you might not know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to mansplain it. But it took me, I want to say, I want to say at least 3 years to kind of really make an impression in my own industry. I am an introvert, and for my first 3 years...
Which, by the way, does not come across.
Really?
Like, and we'll talk about that in a little bit because of the Etsy stuff and all that stuff. But keep going.
Okay.
you might be introverted, like self-admittingly, but when I saw you for the first time, you didn't scream introvert to me.
Oh, okay.
But keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway.
I'm mansplaining you.
No. And so it took about 3 years because like I said, I'm that way. I'm introvert, quote unquote. And I was very bent on, I didn't want to get noticed. I'm just going to do my job. Right. I don't want to draw attention. I'm trying to build this program. So I kind of had like a mission. But then at the 3-year mark, I was getting tired of people knowing my head director and not knowing me.
Sure.
And it was like, oh, it's your head director's show.
Right.
I'm like, well, no, it's my show too. And at my school, people knew who my head director were, but they didn't know who I was. Right. And they're like, oh, what subject do you teach? And I was like, oh, I teach the technical theater. Oh, how long have you been at this school? I was like, fucker, I've been here for like 3 years. Like,
you're like, Mom, it's me.
So it was, I at that 3-year mark, I made a decision that I didn't want to be invisible anymore.
Good.
And that's when I started really networking and I started posting more on my social media. I started finding people on Facebook, like, and reaching out, and then I joined Tails Camp. Right. And honestly, Tails Camp like kind of just changed my life.
So you did, sorry to interrupt you, but you did more personal outreach rather than like, I'm going to go to the football game and I'm going to like, rather than campus outreach. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And too, campus outreach too, but that didn't happen until like after I started getting more experience working with people, with strangers.
Gotcha.
Because I was working with like my own director in my own little bubble.
Yeah.
And I was always a band person, right? And so I really made an effort at my school to be friends and to work on band props. Right. And I have more band friends probably than theater friends, which is really weird. My brother's also a band director. And so I made really good friends with my band friends and my band directors, and they would ask me to like paint things for them or build things for them. And so then I started creating a school community there. And then eventually like dance was like, oh, hey, you're building stuff for band. We saw it on the football field. Can you help us do, and then it started growing. And then I eventually they were like, oh, cool, like, they started coming to me skills for the theater person instead of, so then I kind of, like, came into my own, and I don't want to say overshadowed, but I was no longer invisible.
Right.
And then through that, people were like, hey, oh, did you see? So, like, they would go places, and people would see their props and their stuff, and then say, like, who built that for, like, our technical director? Oh, who is that? And then it just started kind of snowballing, and, I just wasn't invisible anymore.
That's great. That's inspiring in a way. So I want to talk about your quote introvertedness. So you're sitting here with a backpack that is rather colorful with rainbows and dogs and cats and
cassette tapes.
Cats wearing sunglasses, the dog's wearing those 50s kind of cat glasses. But and then your pants are literally paper airplanes. And your shoes are, colorful. Anyway, now the top half is technician.
It's black, yeah.
Yeah. So you're very confusing. But so why do you think you're introverted?
Because I will not sit in the front row of anything. I will not volunteer.
So you're still a high school student, is what
I
you're
will
saying.
not volunteer. If they ask for volunteers, I'm not going to raise my hand. I definitely sit in the back of the row during and I know everybody hates staff meetings, but I definitely avoid eye contact.
Sure.
I think I just feel a little bit more comfortable with my own theater people, which is why I don't seem like an introvert. And also I think, since I've worked really hard to not be invisible, I think now I feel more confident in myself and my skills and just me as a person. But that's really why I tell people I'm an introvert. I feel really weird on camera. I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel, and I just I can't do the video thing, but I'm trying. I'm really trying.
So you're kind of an anxious introvert.
I'm an extroverted introvert.
Okay. But when you're comfortable, you can be
Yes.
extroverted.
Yes, when I'm comfortable.
Extroverted? No, that seems weird and inappropriate. But I get extroverted. Seems like a movie or something. The Extroverted. So you push your stuff. So you are like big on like. Do you own like 12 crickets? Like what is? How do you? You have an Etsy.
I do. I have an Etsy shop. It's called Mighty with All Trades.
And you'll send you. I mean, I have your thing, but I'll put it in the show note type of thing.
And I recently got a website for that, and so I really was frustrated. The way that came about is I craft a lot. Like I've got a silhouette, a cameo for. I had recently got a 3D printer last year for Christmas that my husband bought me. I have like tools and.
How big?
It's a Anycubic mega, so it's like 12 by 12. Yeah. And I've got a sublimation printer, I've got laser printers, I've got heat presses. Like I have like a craft room. I do not have a plotter, but
step up your game.
I know. Okay, I saw one on Marketplace, so I might buy one.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, and my next purchase, I really want a Glowforge. But I don't have
a what?
A Glowforge. It's a laser cutter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I just don't have an extra window in my house.
How much, like, the feds must be looking at your house as, like, when people have grow houses and they know the grow house because the energy consumption is so high?
We do. Actually, we do. Yeah. Because my husband, our garage, we have 2 toolboxes in our garage. My toolbox and my husband's toolbox. But my husband's got a drill press, a bandsaw. Actually, his. He is a super neat freak. Like he uses his tools.
He's a car guy, though.
Yeah, but he uses his tools after he works on his engine, and he cleans them all, and he puts them back in his thing. And the most I do is sweep my sawdust up. Okay. That's it. He actually doesn't let me use the garage. I have to use the saw outside.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep.
That's okay. And so yeah, he's got we've got air compressors. We've got we have like a ton of tools in our house. Generally, just.
That's kind of cool.
A welder. Yeah. We've got all of these things to do, but for like 2 completely just separate things.
Yeah.
And so I have the Etsy shop, but the way that came about is because it wasn't really about making money and like being a side hustle to begin with. I was really frustrated that there was not enough tech representation, right? Like there's cute buttons for actors and cute bags and cute t-shirts and things like that. And even like, but there was nothing that was like, everything tech was like tech crew. Right, but like my kids
or techie, which
or
a lot of people are
well, and for me, and that's a whole other thing. Like I'm not offended by that at all.
But anyway,
we can have a whole other podcast about that. But I really wanted to represent my kids and the skills that they had because not all of my crew kids are set people. Not all of them are lighting people. Like some of them are just artists. And they're just artists that happen to know how to do these things, or that I'm teaching them to do these things. And so I started with I call them Tech Crew Merit Badges. And so they're kind of funny. So one of them is just Tech Crew Merit Badge, and like the center just says, "Congrats, you didn't suck today," and like it's awesome. And then the other one's like, I conquered chaos, and that's my stage management button. Finished before opening night is like another button. Finished with all fingers intact is like my set button. So I tried to make one for every single industry because even though tech is like this huge umbrella, like scenic painters didn't feel represented, right? Costume construction kids didn't feel represented. Wig makers didn't feel represented, and so I kind of really started looking at like, how can I represent every single one of these people, every single one of these technicians? So I started making buttons and patches. I have like 20, or maybe at this point I have like 30. I have like, I don't even know. A lot of buttons, over 20 some button designs for Tech Crew Merit Badges, patches, and things like that.
Do you get to trademark Etsy stuff? Like, is that a thing?
You can, but it's not through Etsy. Like, you have to go through.
You'd have to trademark. You'd have to buy that.
Yeah, and then like, Etsy. The really good thing about Etsy is like, it's just because it's its own marketplace. So people just go there and
it's a farmer's market online.
Yeah, and they Google that. But then I decided to do my own website because I started thinking, when people buy my stuff, I don't I don't want people to say, oh, I bought it off Etsy. I want people to say, I bought it off of Mighty Wood All Trades.
Right.
Like, so I started kind of like, so I have both of those, and I'm trying to look into doing an in-person thing, maybe at TTA next year or something. I'm just like not organized at this point for that, but that's my long-term goal.
Right.
But that's how the Etsy part started. And I really like musicals, and so I also started screen printing like musical quotes on just flour sack towels.
Do you like what's the kind of biggest thing you do? Like do you do Yeti cups, or do you do anything?
Yeah, actually it's my buttons. I have button packs, and so the button packs are like, it's like a collection of like 6 buttons that are just sound related, 6 that are just lighting related, 6 that are, so I have like it's like, yeah, and so I get those a lot because and directors buy them for their crew kids for opening nights or senior gifts or things like that. And in fact, like if you look at like my Etsy statistics, my biggest audience is not even Texas.
Oh, really?
Recipients. It's like just from all over the U.S.
So because the only experience I've had with Etsy is when the pandemic started, I wanted fun masks. And so I searched for different characters. Like I literally have a mask, like Jim Carrey. And I got that stuff off of Etsy. Is there like, do you just? It always pops up if I Google search like, I don't know what your keywords are, but like tech theater buttons.
Yes.
It just pops up.
Yeah,
and it's an Etsy website, or is it going to be your website?
Well, I think if you do it on Google, it might my website might come up like 1 or 2 or 3. So because I don't know anybody else that's doing specific tech buttons.
Right.
I mean, there's like tech gifts, but again, they're always really generic.
Do you watch Shark Tank?
Yes, I do. I don't know if I could do that. Too much. That's too much.
Well, from what I understand is like what you see on Shark Tank is 10% of what actually happened. That's what I understand. So like you see the 8-minute clip, but really they're in there for like an hour and just getting grilled. Anyway, I would love to do Shark Tank. One day. I don't have anything that I would push, but maybe you and I can 50-50 now that I've had you on this podcast. Well, that's cool. So where do you see that going? The sort of side hustle. I mean, you don't seem like somebody that's going to ever want to stop doing tech. Like, so do you, is this just going to be kind of a side hustle thing?
I've talked to my husband about it before, and I would really like to grow it where I could have in-person booths at multiple state thespian festivals and travel and do that. Everybody wants financial freedom. Right. But I would like to actually help my industry, like my technical direction, high school technical direction educator industry, because obviously if you have financial freedom, you can always move on to other projects and do other stuff. But right now I really want to be an advocate for young technical directors, because we're having a really huge issue of exodus or people not having the knowledge to do their job, or feeling overwhelmed or unprepared, or people coming into the job trying to fill a void because we need it. Like there's so many openings, and and everyone, I say, like, a lot of people are always looking for a really good tech director. But it's like, okay, what makes a good tech director? And if you're not a good tech director, how do you become a good tech director?
Fast forward an hour from now and we're maybe done with this conversation, because that opens up a whole, like, for me, I don't know how many of these episodes you've ever listened to, but I've gone off on soapbox kind of tangent rant type of things of what's the reason why we don't have the technical directors we want and need, because there are a lot of people that think that they can direct and think they can act and teach vocal voice work, but there are not a lot of people that are confident with tech. And then there are some people that think they're confident with tech and go into education and then aren't doing it the right way. And then there are people like you that do have the background, the pedigree, the knowledge. But then there are people like you that have the background, the pedigree, the knowledge, but can't educate worth a darn. So,
well, and I think,
what's your solution?
Well, okay, it's interesting. So for me, okay, from
Mel
starting
University right
yes.
now. Yeah.
So starting from, I guess, from universities right now, there is no technical theater certification,
Right.
right? Like I have a theater arts degree according to the state of Texas, or
Right.
like certification according
Yeah.
to the state of Texas. There's no differentiation. But at like college level, the program that like if you really want to be a theater educator,
Yeah.
the program is so focused on pedagogy,
Yep.
on child development, on child psychology, like all of the things that prepare you to be a teacher. And a lot of the classes to take tech, they're intro classes. They're intro to lighting, intro to sound, intro to costume, sewing basics, like all of these basic things.
Yeah.
But there's no classes for management. There's no classes for this, like actual things to do that you don't know you have to do until you get the job.
Right.
And when you graduate, that's it. Like there's no professional development to further your knowledge. Okay, you graduate from college and then you say, well, I kind of learned how to sew.
Right.
What did you learn how to sew? Well, I learned how to thread the machine and sew a straight stitch.
Right.
Awesome. So then you get into your first production and you're like, I have to build all of these costumes.
Right.
Where are you going to go to figure out how to read? I mean, yeah, you could always take to YouTube, right? But professionally, where could you go to learn how to read a pattern, how to sew a hem, how to, put the pattern together other than like the instruction? Like and same thing too with building a set. You know how to use a saw, you know how to put like flats together and stuff, but there is no safe space, no professional location for you to go and grow those skills.
Right.
And people don't have the room and the space to just build flats on their own
Right.
in their garage
Right.
just because they're like, I want to figure out how to do it. It's freaking 4x8. Like,
Right.
so there's currently no professional space for you to just go and learn and experiment. And I've learned all of my stuff because I literally just experiment. Like I learned how to solder, and so so funny story. When we did Beauty and the Beast, we were talking about the rose, and I think a lot of it too is people don't really know how. I hate to say know how to be ambitious, but people just kind of stop with like that's so complicated. It's really not.
They just stop. Yeah,
And just stop.
Yeah.
So this rose thing, my fine arts director at the time was saying like, man, it'd be really cool if we could have a mechanical rose.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah.
So then I kind of went home and I started looking up videos, and there's of course no tutorial videos for what we do. And then I saw this guy, like, it took me down the rabbit hole. I have this mechanical rose. Yeah, something Arduino. I was like, ooh, what's Arduino? Googled Arduino. Oh my God, it's coding. Oh, cool. Oh, wait, there's this Arduino basics, like learn how to Arduino code, whatever book. Okay, cool. I bought it off Amazon. I taught myself how to code. I made my own motherboard. I programmed my own servos, and now I have a mechanical remote control rose that I used for my show.
You're disgusting.
But see, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people think it's so beyond them,
Right.
but it's really not.
Yeah, I mean, like we just, again, you knew this, we just got done with Grease, and it was the same idea. It was like, we want to create Grease Lightning, but not have an actual car on stage. And so we did the golf cart thing, and it was when we got the golf cart that was beat up, and it was free, but it was free for a reason. We just kind of stepped back and we're like, oh man, how are we going to, what are we going to do? And we just did it. Like, you just go, you just dive head in.
And I think so. A lot of technicians are really bad about documenting their work. They document the end, but not the process. And I'm the other way. I always tell the kids, like, and part of our lesson, part of our thing is to document their process. And so I try and do that with my Rouse Tech Instagram and my personal Instagram. I try and document processes, and for my portfolio, even if it's just for me, because you get kind of in this moment and then you forget, like, how did I build this? Like, I don't know. I was in this, like, if you ask me about that rose, there's a lot of gaps that I just don't remember because I was like in the moment. I was doing it. I was soldering. My husband was like, what are you even doing? What is this?
So speak on the documentation thing, because I think, again, more PD. How do you document? Like, what is do you stage things when you document, or do you just do you like kind of step back and just take a shot of it, or is there a way that you like to document?
I don't stage things. I do just take it with my phone.
Yeah.
I recently got a GoPro, so I'm starting to do that part because I want to get into the YouTube channel stuff, because there's not enough resources for us as educators. In that thing on that platform. And so I just take a picture. Like, I just have all of this crap like on my table, and I just like take a picture, and then sometimes I take detailed pictures because I look at it I look at it from what are the pictures I want to see when I Google.
Right.
Beauty and the Beast mechanical rose. I want to see the servos.
Sure.
I don't care how it works because I already know you push a button, the damn pedal falls off,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I want to know, like, what does it look like behind?
Yeah.
So same thing too with sets. I love seeing the behind the sets. I don't care what color it is.
Right.
I don't care what it looks like on the front. I want to know how it's put together.
Right.
So I always ask for backstage tours. I have some friends that work at Bass Concert Hall,
Yeah.
and whenever like famous tours have come by, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but that's okay. I've definitely been like, hey, can I have a backstage tour? And like when the show's over, I'll just say, so I've seen behind the scenes of Hairspray, Rent, Newsies.
Bass is not protected by producers. It's the Broadway houses that are protected by producers that you cannot tour.
Oh, okay.
So like, it has nothing to do with the tour. It's Bass.
Okay, yeah, and so I've seen like multiple, and I don't take pictures,
Yeah.
right? Because they say no pictures, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I definitely go
But
back
you are,
there.
you know,
Up in my head.
but
So I look and I'm like, oh my god, that's how they did that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they did this, and that's how their wheels are, and this is how this thing rolls. And so then I just love the back part of it. I don't care what it looks like in the
Right.
front, because to me, like, not to say that that's not important, but you have to build it,
Right.
and then you can work on aesthetically what it's supposed to look like.
And I know I keep kind of going through all different kind of weaving and whatever through here, but you mentioned the taking the pictures, but not taking pictures, but like with your head, and it made me think. I think the difference between a designer technician and then everybody else is that when we see something that interests us and we're like, oh, how is that table built, or how is that done? We never forget that, and it kind of always just kind of stays somewhere in a file folder in the back of your head, that you're like, oh, I remember how that platform was built. Because like, I'm not going to lie, when I was taught how to build platforms, it was that standard 2x4 against 2x4 bolted together, and you're done. But then I saw the 4x4 method and how you notch out a piece in the 4x4, or you create your own 4x4 by sandwiching two 2x4s together, and the platform sits on top of it. And it's like, well, yeah, that makes a lot more sense when it's a taller platform. But anyway, those types of things you remember, because I've had some of those tours as well, some legally and some not, and you just kind of like, oh, that's the secret behind that magic trick.
Yeah, and I think it's like and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with directing. You experience the theater in order for you to be able to do it, and it's the same way with tech. You see how it's put together, and you can take all of those ideas.
Yeah.
And I also follow a lot of non-theater creators. So I follow cosplayers, I follow resin artists, I follow sign painter people. I just follow all kinds of artists, and so then eventually all of that stuff gets regurgitated when I'm just like, oh, we have to build a sign for a little shop or something. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I go back to the sign painter, guy I follow on Instagram, and then I'm like, oh, he uses these brushes. Let's buy these brushes because they are actual sign painting brushes.
Did you watch Bob Ross when you were younger?
Yes.
Okay, when you said brushes, because I thought that man had every type of brush. And
and it's like that. You don't have to just stick to theater. You can learn so much from so many other different mediums.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that.
Minor wisdom.